social media, but people are.
Everybody, so welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding in Menachos Daf Nun Daled. We're starting Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis at the two dots right after the Agato. The Gemara goes on and says, I just said it. Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis in the bottom and two dots. The Gemara says, Rameir says that so as we mentioned in the previous daf, we started the parak. According to Rameir, the way you create it is a lack of a better. Someone corrected me today. I called it yeast, which is correct. It is yeast, but it's not the yeast of today. The yeast of today is made out of other material. The yeast there is really sourdough. What today, what's called the starter for the sourdough, is the starter that always used to be. You take some, heavy flour with water, and they would let it ferment, and that was the syrup. So the syrup could remain to coming from the original flour. You take flour, and you take out of the flour and make syrup. Comes the beauty of the Mishnah says, no, don't do it that way. Go do it by taking from the house, because you could do it in a warmer place, a place where the starter could be done in a more proper way. So something about Yechezkel or Yeshiva. So it says, what did the man say? The man said, you know why you should not do like a Yehuda? Because if you do like a Yehuda, you will have either too much flour or too little flour.
That's why? If you do it, you start from the... If
you start with it, which is the syrup. Why? So we'll explain. Why is Chaser here? If the dough of the syrup is thick, which means what? That there's two ways to do this yeast, to do this sourdough. You either put a little water, then you squish it, it becomes less condensed than the flour.
The water I just saw this on the video. Because let's say you have two thing of water, thing of dough.
Yeah.
And you mix it together, you only get 1.5. Because the water...
Because mix it together?
No, the water goes between the air.
Between the air. Very good, interesting. So either the syrup makes it more condensed, or if you did it with more water, so then it becomes bigger. So the Gemara says, if it's avo, which means if it's thick and it's not a lot of water, it says Yisrael means there's a syrup. So if I fill a flour above that, the flour, you want to bring it to the top of the kli. So how do you do it to the top of the kli? You put in the sarim, which you brought from the syrup you brought from home. You fill the flour. You bring too much flour. Because you take the flour, you want to put the sarim, you would look at it only as flour without water, it would be, you would have it sticking up of the kli.
Is the sarim flour with water?
No. But so Rameir says, first of all, fill up the kli. Make it full of flour. Then, take a flour from it and make from it a syrup. He says, no, that's not going to work so well. Go home, bring a syrup from home, make a syrup, put it into the kli and fill up a flour. Okay, so says Rameir, if I'm going to put full of flour, I'm not going to know how much flour I have in the syrup. It could be either too much or too little. That's what he said. So if it's avo, it means very thick. So then the syrup is very smooshed together. You're missing the air in between. So then the flour you're putting on top of it to the top is more than what you need. Rakov, it's very smooth, very thin, meaning the water is a lot. It means it's chaseir, so then I put in flour to the top, putting too little flour.
You never really measured
Exactly. So that's what Amir says. Fill it up to the top with regular flour, take a flour from it and make the syrup from there. Then you know you're exact. So if you want to start kick a kayali, well, who cares? Who cares what was the beginning or the end? Right now, when I fill it up, I fill it by syrup. So there's a rule we're going to see today's sugya. You don't go based on what it is right now. You go based on what it was before, originally. So originally, this syrup was flour. I look at it as flour the way it used to be, even though now it's either more condensed or more expanded, but you need to do the way it was originally.
So it doesn't fill up, it could fill up the kli, overflow the kli.
You shouldn't. So that's what man tells the Yehuda. Yehuda says, really, the way you're doing it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Says more, I have a solution. So what's the problem? Maybe just go and take a little bit. Now here Rashi brings two explanations. The first explanation is we'll go and we'll measure it. Let's see how much flour does this create, and we figure it out, right? Right. In other words, you will take the flour of the isarin, do it together with the seir, then test it out. Or the second shot of Rashi is.
They don't use any water with this?
What?
Do they use any water?
In regular, usually not. You should put oil, not water. Depends on the type of mincha. But the one to make sarah, you're condensing. You're making mamash into a starter. It's not just flour, a little water. So Rashi brings two explanations. What do you want over here? Explanation one is, take from the flour, shali sarah, and we look at Rashi inside. Take a little bit from the kemach of the isaron after you did it with the sarah they brought in the house. Just test it out. And then you bring it in and you'll see what it is. That's one shot of Rashi. The other shot of Rashi is, actually I read the second shot. The first shot is, after you measured it, let's go do it and do it in a different place. And we'll, and he says, no, so the second shot is, let's just test it. First shot is, what's the problem? Let's take why is Rabbi Yehuda disagreeing with Rameir? Take the flour and do like Rameir says. Rabbi Yehuda says he won't make it so well, so put it in a good place. So I'll tell you why I don't like it. If you're going to go do that, you may come take the wrong flour. According to the first shot, you'll take the flour from here, go to home, you're going to take the wrong one. According to the second shot, when you do the testing, you put in back the wrong flour. So that's why I don't want you to do that. So according to that's why Rabbi Yehuda doesn't answer to Rameir, we do like Rameir. Tapuchim means apples. You don't use apple juice. You should not do chos to apple juice. You could do it with the apple juice. He says the name of Rabbi Chanina. Oh, we're very good. I want to get to that. If you crush an apple, you put it into the dough. In other words, by Pesach, it becomes chametz. Sorry, here's not Pesach. Pesach we'll get to in a moment. This is talking about he took a fruit of truma, an apple of truma, and put it into the flour, and now it made a chametz.
Is that like a mezonah spread?
1 second. You're right, it's not a chametz gomer, but it is somewhat a chametz. Even if you do it with the fruit, it still has chimutz over there. So here Tosfos has a very long discussion. It's a very long Tosfos from the previous one into here regarding matzah ashira. When do we say that fruit juice makes chametz? We're not. We have the Gemara seems over here to say fruit juice doesn't cause a problem. Tosfos brings the shita that says the only time the fruit juice makes chametz is only if you put water with it as well. But if it's fruit juice, pure fruit juice, it will not become chametz. And that's the idea of the matzah ashira a little bit. The matzah ashira, they use fruit juice. That's what we used it last year when Pesach fell on a Sunday. That's
that mezonah spread. They always put water also.
Yes.
So it should really not be mezonah.
So that's the discussion. Part of the discussion that we show you, because Tosfos himself is one sheet. Tosfos himself brings the other sheet that disagrees. Even when he brings the Yerushalmi really. Even with the water, it doesn't make a difference as long as you have juice. So that's one interesting discussion. What makes it really into the water that makes it into a bread?
If because you have water.
But for Birkas Moses it's different. Birkas Moses has to do with another discussion, which is called Pasaba Mekistin. It's something else.
Yeah.
Here they go around chametz.
It's interesting. As far as they make only hamotzi and matzah of Pesach, during the year they make
yes.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah, because they hold it's not really bread. So I'll tell you something. There's a big problem to go and do kmitza with minchas choite. What's unique about minchas choite? The minchas choite is a mincha of someone who did a chait, that the flour, there's no oil at all. There's no liquid. So there's no liquid, it's dry. So when you dry it out and you try to make an exact kmitza, it falls off. You're not doing exact. It's very hard to do it. Somebody of you asked, can you do water? He says, yeah. You can't put oil, put water. Laying back, what's the machlekes? The ma'asova kemoy shem sharinon. What's the machlekes? One understands they both agree that you could put water. But the shaila is, do you go based on what it is right now, or based on what it was originally? So if you go to you says, I'm looking right now. Right now I put water into it. Goes back to what we said before, we go in this air. You put water in this air. Do I care how much it shrunk or it grew? So we said, yeah, I care because I want to go based on the original size. So here, when I'm taking flour and it has water in it, so yes, now it's very easy to do it, but that's not the right measurement. Because without water, you have a different measurement. You have to go based on the original measurement. And the other one says, no, you go based on the current measurement. So well, look, Kula alma kamoy shehem sharin. You go based on what it is right now. Ubeakar the gabar so my charev acherim mishamen. Umar so charev mikol dover. Question: what is charev? What it means that a minchas choyta needs to be dry. Is it dry from oil or dry from everything? Very good. Says the Gemara. Menachos. Says the Mishnah. The Sarah eagle shenitbach. Eagle is a calf, and it's common for a psar eagle to inflate, to grow. Inflates. Or besides, meaning it gets swollen. It gets bigger than its original state. Besides, in the old animals, it shrunk. You go based on what they are right now. I don't care what they were originally, go based on now. For one of Kamina, they got to be tumah. In order to transfer tumah, food has to be a kabetza. So if this is less than kabetza, or more than kabetza, you go based on what it is right now. I don't care that before is bigger or small. Rabbi Shmuel, Shimon, Rebbe, that's the Gusa of the Bach. So you go based on what it was originally, not the way it is right now. Meaning, machlekes, you go based on what it is right now, or based on the original state. Meisivei brings more question. You had the meat of a calf that did not have a shiva beitzo, and inflated and became the size of a shear. So until whatever is still now star, I don't care that now it became kabetz. Until now it was not. Going forward, it does have a tumor. Why does it have a tumor? It's
a shear.
The shear just inflated. So
but there's nothing added to it. It's just the original.
So you go based on what it is right now. Now what it was, some question of mandoma that goes based on the past. Same one, no, midirabanan. Midiraisa, you go based on the past. This is midirabanan. Midirabanan, you go based on, you go whatever it is right now.
How it started.
No, what it is right now. So let's go to the next part. You talk about pigul and noisor. What is pigul and noisor? Pashtas it means. Isur pigul isur noisor. Kazais pigul chav chorus. Isur chav, someone needs kazais noisor chav chorus. That's the raisa. Iyama bishlama der raisa. You're going based on the raisa and the ika pigul and noisor. In the yama der abanon pigul and noisor der abanon mika. What's pigul and noisor der abanon? Ema v'chem betumas pigul v'chem betumas noisor. Yes. Rabbanon would go easier when you have pigul and noisor. If they're the size of a beitza, they cause tumah. Why? The Gemara Pesachim brings two explanations. Tell you Rashi, for some reason, brings only one over here. Mishum pashek yuna. Chashdik yuna means you suspect the kohanim that maybe they didn't do the right thing. So you want to tell them, if you do it wrong, if you do pigul or nicer, they'll make you tummy. They were more scared of tumah than Yisur. Or atzlik yuna, they're going to be lazy. So they want to make sure that they're going to be more careful. So they made tumah derabbanan. Says the Gemara, either to us pigul to us nicer derabbanan, because the tumah itself is derabbanan. He cool the eye with derabbanan lo derabbanan. Maybe I would say to come and say that if it inflated to do a din derabbanan of tumah and a tumah derabbanan won't do, kamashma. So that's him over there. Toshma, another right. Besar skein sheyab kishir. You had besar skein, an old cow's meat, and it was fat. Vetzomak, and it shrunk. The bargain is kishir. So going forward in story, even though it used to be a kabetza, only for the past is tummy. So what do you see over here? You go based on right now, you don't say it continues to be tummy. Hold on, 1 second. I'm going to change a little bit the dynamic over here to answer those questions. If there was a shear, now there's no shear. How lazy? Right now, I don't care they used to have beitza. Right now, there's no kabetza. You can't make tumah with no kabetza. Originally, there was no shear. And now there is a shear. It's only the derabbanan. The rice needs to be going from beginning to end. Only the end. It's only the derabbanan. So what's the discussion? It was the shear. Then it shrunk. Then it came back. So, Marsova yeshdichu bisur, marsova yeshdichu bisur. Yeshdichu means once it's out, it's out. So here you have like this. In 10 o'clock in the morning, it was a kabetza. 12 o'clock in the afternoon and went less to kabetza. 2 o'clock in the afternoon is back to kabetza. So this thing started kabetza and kabetza, but there was a certain time in the middle it's not a kabetza. So do you say it lost its size and it doesn't cost tumo? Or you say no, that's called yishdichu. Once it went out, it went out. Says the Gemara, you want to say there's anybody that holds the yeshdichu b'yisurim? But not, it says in the Mishnah. Kabetza oichlim sheinicho b'chamu. You have a beitza of food, you put it in the sun, finismat, when it shrunk. Chen kazayis min ameis, kazayis min nevelo. You have kazayis from the dead or from a nevelo. V'chadosh min asher, a small piece from the sheds. Kazayis pigul, kazayis noisor, kazayis chaylev, right? All this thing. That they all got shrunk to iron. The tar, they don't cost tumo. There's no, you don't have it, even though it used to be a kazayis. Now you put it back in the rain and it inflated back to me. Oh, now it's tameh, and you can't put pickle nice with tameh. To you have a right over here that what? That you say that it goes back to its original state. And you're talking here, and you're talking about also here what? No, now we're talking also pickle the nicer. Pickle the nicer, as we said before, is the rice. You can't say it's only been there abundant. So you see over here that if it used to be big, became small, went back to its original state, what is the din? Has a din that it's always, you don't say yishdichui. So Madama argues it to you, though. Yes, that was the right.
Why should the size make a difference? Because once you designate the animal for like whatever you're doing it for.
We're talking about, we're specifically going tumo. So tumo, in order to transfer tumo,
minimal size.
you need to have a size of kavetza.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying, but minimal size of animals are out. You're talking animals going to be.
No, you're talking a piece of meat.
You're talking just a piece of meat.
Yeah, the piece of meat says kavetza. There is a machlekes Rashi says if it receives its own tumo when it's less than kavetza, but there's a transfer tumo, it's only kavetza. You know the transfer tumo has to be kavetza. Okay, so go to Toshma. Termim te'enim ala groigos. What is a te'enim? Te'enim is figs. What is a groigos? Dry figs. What happens when you take a fig and you dry it up? It gets smaller. So you do trumo from te'enim, which means raw figs, ala groigos, the dry ones. They're minion, meaning how do you do based on count? Do based on count. So right now, before we go into the cheshbon of the Gemara, we're going trumo. If I'm doing it based on count, how do you do based on count? Minion means based on number. So, even though it says termin, let's just assume now we'll get to the Gemara in a moment. We're going meiser. How much is a meiser? 10%. That means they do 10 for 90. But it's different sizes. The groigers used to be a bigger size before they dried up. So I think, well, you know what, Bishama, come on, you, the Gersar, what?
The meiser, you on a thing like a date, do you use pieces or volume?
So here the Gemara says pieces. We'll get the volume in a moment. Very good point. So what is the Iyom Bishama, come on, here the Gersaris are all messed up a little bit. But the Gemara says, if you're going basis the original state, Shafir, they all used to be raw figs. And if you're going based in current state, have them ma'ibrim and meisers. You have too much meisers. Why? Because the 10 groigers, dry figs,
Bigger. Bigger.
Sorry, the raw figs are bigger than the dry figs. And if you're doing too much meiser, what happens if you do too much meiser? So it's my meiser said, no, Tanyo, hamayim b'meiser, someone makes too much meiser, peroisim mesukonim, umasoisim mekulkolim. So the fruits are fixed, because what happens? Let's say you have 100 fruits. How much is meiser out of 100? 10. Why? Because it's 10%. It's very good. No math. 10 out of 100 is 10%.
If you might cows and stuff, you're not going to go by weight also, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that. 1 second. We'll get to weight in a moment. Let's assume that you do 11. So the 89 that are left, they're good. Because you did meiser, you did okay. But the 11, you have a problem. What do you have a problem? Because here you have 10 of them were meiser, one of them is not. The Levi that takes it, he has a problem. The part of it is still tevel. Because that one you never fixed. In order to create a fix, you have to do 10 for 9. I don't know which one of them you didn't fix.
If the Levi has to give it to the kohen, it wouldn't be so bad, right?
What?
The Levi has to give to the kohen.
And you don't know how much you have to give the kohen because he's giving one, maybe he's giving the wrong one. So the kids, so you have your problem, that's a tevel. That's why, that's a Rashi explains in a different place. The Maasros of the Kulkol, I have too much meisers, I have a mix over here. Now everything is meiser, and it causes me a problem. Okay, so Gemara says over here, if I take dates and do Meiser on figs, the Meiser on figs is it's too big. If you go based on the current state. Elamai, what do you have to tell me? Then you go become what you have to go based on the original state. It doesn't go to the hand. It means show you. Let's go to the next part of the Brisa. It says over there, or the Mishnah, Kroigros alatein. What happens with the opposite? Kroigros is figs, dry figs. You do meiser dry figs on raw figs. Dry figs is small. Where do you go? Bimido. Not going based on quantity.
Volume.
I'm going based on volume. That means I don't. Hi, 1 second. You said you go based on the past. Kroigros are fine. So why are you going based on volume? So here, you go based on now. Shofar, go based on volume. He's doing too much. Because if you're going based on volume, you have too much of dry figs in comparison. Because the dry figs, Rashi goes on to say, it comes up to be basically double. You're basically putting your 20 figs out of 10.
But figs easier than flour in a way because the fig is a defined piece.
It doesn't matter. It's a good point. But the mindset question is, do you go based on the past, based on the current? Hello, something. 1 second. You forgot something. Doesn't say here ma'asrim. No, need to speak about ma'asir. Spoke about the truma g'doyla skina. What's truma g'doyla? Is the truma you have to give to the kohen. What is the size of truma you have to give to the kohen? Okay, go there. The kohen over here. Truma midiraisa chito achas patera sakri. One kernel is part of the whole pile. One kernel, right? Rabbanan said to give 2%. Achad mechamishim, which is 2%. That's Ayin Beinonis. Ayin Yofa gives Echad Marboim, which is 2.5%. And Ayin Ra gives Echad Mishishim, which is 1.33. So we have over here, it's 1.66, sorry. So it's let's say Midirabbanan, you have to do 2%. Okay? It's only Midirabbanan. So what do I do? Says the Gemara, talk about Truma Gedolah. He's giving too much. In other words, we don't go based. You're saying you go based on now, based on the past. The answer is we always give you more. Always give you more than we're supposed to be. It's supposed to be if you have dates on figs. So really, maybe you could go based on the volume, and I'm going now based on the number because I'm giving you a little bit more. If I'm going dry figs on figs. So then I'm going based on I'm going to go based on volume, even though the medium, because you always go for more. You always go, you're machmir. So in other words, my meiser, I have a problem. You can't do too much rice. It has to be exact. But by true, I could. So more yachim masifo. Let's go to the next part. Miktoya is the kli that you use for dry figs. Kalkul is the basket you use for raw figs. So he would take 10 groigers, which is the dry ones, on the 90, which is raw. Groigers is less, and he's going based on quantity. It's a number. Why is it taking 10? It's supposed to be 2%. You want to be machmi like I know for 2.5%. What is he doing 10? 10% is too much. Hello, Sigma Chuas Meiser Askin. I'm not talking about Truma G'dolah, let's talk about Chuas Meiser. What's a Chuas Meiser? The way it works in Truma is you give the Kohen, you give Truma, which is what? 2%. You give the Levi Meiser, how much is that? 10%. The Levi has to give from his Meiser 10% to the Kohen. Here comes the one that says the Chiddush. Meiser needs to be exact. You can't have more, you can't have less. Truma does not have to be exact. It can be more or less. What about Truma's Meiser? Truma's Meiser is 10%. So you would think it's to be exact. The Chiddush is not. You could do more.
What's more desirable?
Let's just finish the Malach. Let's go to the Abba L'Goyim. The Tanya Abba L'Goyim L'Oimer. V'nechshav lechem Trumos Sechem. It says Trumos Sechem Lo Shem Rabin. Beshtei Trumas because of that. We talk about 2 Trumas. Achas Truma G'dolah. The Achas Trumas Meiser. There's 2 Trumas that we have. The Truma that the Yisrael gives the Kohen. And the Truma that the Levi gives the Kohen. The same Truma G'dolah you go based on Oymen. Oymen means you don't measure it. Why? As Rashi points out, this brings here, you want to encourage people, don't do not measure, they'll give more that way. Machshava, Rashi says you don't have to say a thing. You could just have a thought. So he says you have to say, you don't have to do. Like it's over here. Can't choose meiser also niteles beoimed with avnei mudav machshava. You can also do it with, even though it's 10%. You don't have to do exact measurement. You do it approximately. You do a machshava. What's it with religious? I'm just finishing the mahal over here. Mat shuma gdoila be'ayin yafo. Shuma gdoila, I could do more. I could do as much as I want. Chumas meiser be'ayin yafo. So Shuma meiser be'ayin. When you finish, another 2-3 more lines just to get to there. So also it's Shuma gdoila. So you mail it what? It's like, well, it's Shumas Meiser. Hi, so why are you doing figs on dates or dates on figs? What are you doing? We're going buying Yafa, give me more. Meiser can't be more. Shumas Meiser could be more. What do you want to ask?
What's more desirable? Dried figs are...
Depends. We'll see in tomorrow's daf. We'll go speak on it. The raw figs are better.
But they spoil fast.
So it all depends on kiyum or tam. Let's go.
You could dry it out also.
What?
I mean, the Levi and Kohen could dry it out.
Yeah, you could. I'm saying, but what do you want to give? Let's go on. The Gemara says, so what is the Gemara saying? The Gemara says, you're right. You're talking about that he's going the chumr, he's giving more. It's not a meiser, it's not a truma because it says 10%, it's truma's meiser. It says the Gemara, from here, let's learn. Let's go back to what we just said. He took 10 groigus, which is dry figs, or 90, which is raw figs. You say that you go based on the original state. Shot. And if you go based on right as it is right now, but it's less. So basically you want to give more. Okay? But here he argues. Originally we said you go based on volume, but he's going based on quantity. And you just said why is he giving less? So that doesn't work. So look, you also have Shani Groigois Will be Yochel Lisholkom Lachzir and Kamochem. This goes to back you said similar to what you said before. It says they're different. Dry figs, I can return them to be raw figs. You know what I do? They dry. I water them up and I inflate them and bring them back to their original state. So that's why even though when they are shrunk, they're not considered to be shrunk because they're inflatable. You can bring them back. So that's why I go basic quantity, at least according to this Mandama. It's not considered to be reducing it. But when I'm talking about flour, for example,
you can't do it.
You can't do it. Or when you have meat that's shrunk, you can't necessarily put it back. That's why there you go based on what it is right now. So it could be the machlekes, you go based on what it is right now or not. It depends if you can go back to the original state. That's what it says, and this is more includes. And we'll continue next stop and something similar, which is a little different. But this is the sugi of Kamoy Chen. By the way, just in the Gersois, we have the Bach said either Kamoy Chen or Kamoy Shoyu. Kamoy Chen is now. Kamoy Shoyu was in the past. The way argues for the Gemara is they both say Kamoy Chen. There's just differences in the lamed. Kamoy Chen is what it is right now. Let Kamoy Chen is back to the past. The lamed going back to what it was originally. The Bay say Yishar Kayach. Have a wonderful Shabbos.